Okay, so who am I? Well, my name is Lisa Cairns. I talk about non-duality. So there was an interview that I did last summer, and the other person I was interviewed with didn't know anything about non-duality, and one of the questions were, who am I? So he began to introduce himself, and I kind of said what it meant in terms of non-duality. And I think that the who am I question became popular with Ramana Maharshi, but you've got to understand that this brain is neurologically diverse and it's had awakening experiences, and the memory is shot. So any history that I give you on non-duality, please don't take it as gospel. Because, yeah, this brain is just not in that way working very well. Yeah. Yeah, so it originally came from Ramana Maharshi, and from what I understand is he gave the practice of who am I to people. I never really did that, but I did it by default in the fact that I questioned who I was, but I didn't sit there and meditate being like, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? I did it more through exploration of thinking and listening to talks, but I never formally did a meditation practice based on that. Some people do. They sit and keep asking that question again and again. And there was somebody that I interviewed recently called Violet who had an awakening from that. It was so super sweet. If you haven't seen it, it's in one of the playlists below. Yeah. So this is such a profound question. And most of the time it's used, like before I got into the subject, it's more used like that question as a tool to build yourself up. Whereas in non-duality, it is used to question yourself. So I think when you were younger, you'd do like pin boards of who you were, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you wanted, all these different things, who your parents were, where you came from. Whereas non-duality is questioning you in a different way. So who is it now that's having an experience? And this is such an amazing question. Who is it now that's having an experience? So when you were younger and you used to make these like dream boards of who you were and what you wanted to be and what you wanted to achieve, the idea would be, I am what I've done in the past. I am what I'm going to be in the future. I am my name. I am my occupation. I am all the good deeds I've done. I'm all the bad deeds I've done. I am bad. I'm a fantastic person. I am better than this person. I am a maths champion. I am fantastic at the computer. But non-duality asks the question, is that actually the person that's experiencing? So in your experience now, is that the person that is experiencing? Ramana Maharshi uses it as a negation. Who is the person looking now? Is it the person that was good yesterday? Is that who's sitting here looking? And the mind is like, oh man, this is, like when I first heard this, I was like, come on, this isn't challenging enough, what does that give me? I remember my friend used to say, who is the finger pointing at? And I'd be like, boring, what else? Come on, give me a mental mind tangling tease. Is it the person that made a mistake when they were 15 years old? Is it the person that can be angry or violent? Or is it the person that has climbed Mount Everest? Is that who's experiencing now? And in our language and in the way we think as humans, there is this idea that that is the person that's experiencing. But yet that's not actually our experience. So the person that climbed Mount Everest is a memory now. The person that got angry yesterday is a memory now. So is that actually a somebody that's looking out of your eyes? And what we do as humans is we kind of have this idea that there is like this permanent soul that's in the body that's going through time and is experiencing this life. So it is experiencing this life. And that's kind of quite a weird idea when you think about it. It's quite abstract that there is a person experiencing this life, and that person is a collection of all types of things and ideas. So does it feel like you, as that person that climbed Mount Everest, is sitting here now? What we do is we have this held sense of ourselves. So we get conditioned in early life to have particular feelings, particular modes of being, and we kind of hold that sensation in our body, and we hold it all the time and feel like that person is experiencing, while simultaneously producing an image of ourselves. It seems so abstract to me now, after 20 odd years of being in this subject, maybe more now, that that there is an entity inside of Lisa which is experiencing. It seems like alien, like what? Like that's so alien. That's so alien, like that there is this entity called Lisa inside the body experiencing. But this is how we're taught, and this is what most humans believe, and it's such a phenomenal illusion that it's mostly never questioned, because there is these images that are being produced of yourself, with thoughts that are being produced of yourself, and then there is this contracted image that you're holding of yourself as well. Not image, this contracted sensation that you're holding of yourself. Then also there is the sense of beingness and consciousness, like pure consciousness, the consciousness of this world, that is contained in that. Like it feels like that person is conscious. That person is experiencing. But is this true? Is there actually a person experiencing? Is there actually a you that is experiencing this? Dun dun dun, is that true? So then it has to come back to your own experience. So this is why Ramana Maharshi recommended the practice of I am. Because it has to come back to your experience. So right now, is there somebody experiencing this talk? And if so, who is that somebody? Who is this somebody? So we're sitting here, so let's go to the experience. And there is two fundamental things happening. There is a consciousness, there is perception of what's happening. I'm not talking about subconscious of the person. I'm talking about a consciousness, a knowing of this world, a knowing of the computer, a knowing of the microphone interface, a knowing of the table, a knowing of the cup, knowing of the glasses, of the boombox. Boom. So there is consciousness happening. There isn't anybody here who doesn't have consciousness. This can be very confusing though, because we can say they have lower or higher consciousness, but they're talking about the personal evolution of someone. So they're talking about somebody's thoughts and body, mind being more evolved. But we're not talking on that level, we're talking about perception. And that can't be more or less evolved because everybody has perception. It could feel more or less evolved if you went into somebody who knew who they were as to somebody who weren't, because when you don't know who you are, like everything can become very muddy and confused, and the human can get into all types of delusions, whereas when it's recognized, then there can be a clarity on the human level. So in that way you could say that it seems like there is more evolved consciousness, but actually there's not. There's the same amount of consciousness in each one. It's just that when somebody's not recognized themselves, they sometimes are really lost in lots of fog and delusions and thoughts and ideas. So it's just that there's more fog of yourself there than when it's been recognized. So in this moment, there is no doubt there is consciousness for everyone and all things. And this consciousness is so magical and mysterious. It's not actually separate from anything it's conscious of. So this is where not to comes from. So you can't actually find where consciousness begins and where it ends. Like it doesn't end here and the world begins. Everything is inside of that one consciousness. It seems to be looking through a particular body-mind, but it's actually in all objects. You can think of it like a virtual reality headset. Like, so if I'm looking through a virtual reality headset and I have a character in which I'm looking through, I'm actually equally looking at everything. Like I'm equally experiencing the table as I am my character. There's equal amounts of consciousness in it. It's just the focus might be more on the character that you're looking through. So say if you've got a horse avatar that you're looking through, but it's actually everywhere in all things. Like my perception is of all things. It's not actually that it belongs to the character which it's seemingly looking through, but it seems like that in the virtual reality headset. There's not a character here which is looking at the rest of the world or separate from the rest of the world. There is Lisa looking through a character at a world, but the character and the world are one and the same thing. Equal perception happening in all of them. Whether I focus on the character's hand or whether I focus on the floor in the virtual reality, it's all equally my looking, equal amounts of my looking. What we tend to think is consciousness belongs in here and we're conscious of a world which is separate out there. But when we really look at it, there is consciousness everywhere and nowhere. But you can't find it. So my character in the virtual reality game can't find Lisa looking. Lisa's looking is everywhere. It's found in the looking. It's found in everything that's being experienced. Das ist fantastisch. It's the same with the sense of being. So the sense of being alive, that I am, is no place and all places. You cannot find that sense of being, that sense of existence. It's the love side, the sense of existence. It seemingly comes from the heart, you could say, the I am. But it's not separate from all things. You can't ever find it. Like everything is appearing in existence in that sense of being alive. It's a little bit more abstract to talk about, but that sense of being alive is in the wall, in the computer, in the mat, in the table, just like the consciousness. And just like the consciousness is seemingly looking through the senses, or it feels sometimes like more the eyes, but because it's looking through the senses consciousness, experiencing through the senses, the I am is seemingly coming from the heart, which is so beautiful. Like, so Jesus on the cross, Ramesh, this was something Ramesh Balsaka used to always say. He used to say that that the cross is the vertical, which is what is, and then to that vertical line, and then you've got the horizontal line, which is the apparent timeline, which is apparent people going through time and having a life and doing things. And Jesus is hammered to the cross, so it's where he dies, but his heart is placed where the cross meets, in the meeting place. So where the apparent human experience, the timeline, and the non-time, the no time meet. And that's where the I am is. It's just so beautiful. Oh, I love that imagery. And so we have these seeming characters that go with the body. So just like in the virtual reality world, you have a character in that world, but that character isn't actually experiencing. That character is being experienced. So I, as Lisa, with the headset, when I put the headset on, I experience that character as well, equally the world. I need a character and I need a world in order to experience the virtual reality. So I experience them in the virtual reality. That character doesn't experience. And so I might have like a really grumpy character. I might have like a really angry character, one that feels like it's had a really hard life. It's sort of lived out in space and traveled from planet to planet, never really finding its home, feeling left out, feeling not loved. So I might have like a really heavy character in the virtual reality, but that character isn't actually who I am. When you're identified with the character, so if I forgot that I was Lisa and then identified with the character, then it would be really heavy. Like to really believe all these things the character believes about me and have no bigger perspective on who I truly am. And that's what happens in this life, is that there just becomes a complete absorption in the character's world. Like I am this person and everything I do is very serious, everything I don't do is very serious, my life is very serious, because that is who I am. And then there's a seeking, because as soon as you misidentify with the character, there's a seeking to feel more comfortable, to feel at home, because you feel like you've lost yourself. So the character, so say my character goes on a spiritual search, so in the virtual reality, and there is a recognition. So I, as Lisa, has forgotten myself, and then the character goes through this search, and then there is a parting in the character, and I, as Lisa, remember, oh, I'm watching this. I'm dreaming this dream. I'm watching this virtual reality. And then the character deeply relaxes. The character doesn't have this intense desire that there is something wrong. So it affects the character, but it's not the character that wakes up. The character has never been alive, just like in the virtual reality. You have never been alive. You've never existed. You are a program that's running. But your character and your consciousness have got intertwined, and the I am, and it feels like the character is conscious. But how can that be? How can something that is being experienced, so your character is being experienced, be the experiencer? So something which is seen in the dream cannot be the experiencer. And this can be really confusing for the mind. So the mind might be desperately trying to understand what I'm saying, and then there might be brief moments where it's known or it's on the tip of the tongue. And then the mind gets all confused again and begins to look for this. And then there's the brief moment of, oh yeah, and then forgetting. And then there can be bliss and heart openings and spiritual experiences. But the point to non-duality is it's not anything in the dream. It's the pure consciousness which is experiencing. And the I am. The I am. And then equally knowing that the I am is love and the consciousness is emptiness. That in the end, every word that we place on this will limit it. And these are pointings to something that is beyond words. Really beyond words. I am. We are. This is it, baby. So these talks are a reminder of that. I just repeat myself in different ways, again and again and again. And you are so welcome to ask questions, and I answer them. But I'm not here to help you on the human level. I've learned lots of tricks along the way for settling down the character and understanding the character, because often when you go through this process of waking up, there is profound shifts in the person and deep understanding of the shadow of the character. Because what begins to get challenged is that that is you, and that you are going to find freedom. You're going to find your sense of self, your home in pleasure. And non-duality is challenging that. It's saying that your home is not in a worldly object, it's in your very essence, which is experiencing right now. So it's right here in the experience. And in challenging that, you're going to challenge misconceptions that the person has, and ideas and lies that it's told itself, which can build up over many, many years. So ideas that you are a bad person, and that in order to be good, you have to do all these good things. And then there is this compulsive seeking to always be a fantastically good person and perfect in every way. And when this begins to be looked at and you begin to realize that actually you're not looking to be a good person, that's not going to give you what you want, that what you really want is who you are, which is the consciousness looking in this moment and the I am, then the seeking reduces, so the seeking to be good, and maybe for a period of time there is an intense feeling of being bad coming up. I am a bad person, because you spent your whole life avoiding the feeling of being bad by trying to be good. But when you stop doing all those good things, then that feeling obviously of being bad might begin to surface. So I can guide you to teachers or therapies that you can do, but essentially my job is to keep pointing you back to the freedom that you are, and your job is to practice putting your attention in the I am, in the empty looking, and to, find healing methods that work for you to settle down the person. So it's not really a communication about me helping you on a personal level, although I'm happy to guide you, and I talk a little bit, or it comes and goes, about the chakras. That's what really helped me, is understanding the chakras. So if I had something like I've done bad or I am bad coming up, then I would think it's most probably in the heart chakra, and it would be like an exploration into that. But predominantly I'm pointing beyond that, like who is the one that even wants to release that emotion in the heart chakra? Who is looking at that? Who is experiencing that? Yeah, but it's confusing. The mind is always going to personify this subject. Until it becomes crystal clear, the mind will personify it.